Hello everyone, my name is John Bussard. I'm an HPE Solutions Center engineer for Ingram Micro. Help support servers, blade systems, storage, as well as networking technology solutions from HPE. In my videos, what I like to do is show you a slide from a popular PowerPoint and then present to you what that means within a management interface. Today we're going to do things a little bit differently. Today we're going to explore an HPE ProLiant DL380 Gen10 based system that I've received from my lab. The DL380 series of 2U rack mount servers represent one of the most popular servers that are out there. Because of its flexible design, agile and secure infrastructure, it makes it ideal for a variety of workloads from SMB to enterprise customers. And these workloads include virtualization, ERP, CRM, databases, email servers, you name it, it's probably run on a ProLiant DL380 server. This generation, Gen 10, is no slouch as well. Has a variety of expanded capabilities, including up to 2 Intel processors for a total of 28 cores, 24 DDR4 memory slots, and 12 of those could be persistent memory. And that's the ability to set aside some memory to be storage space, so it can act like very, very fast storage that's connected directly to the memory bus. Also, it has an extensive expansion capability as far as drive storage capabilities. So for example, you can hold up to 30 small form factor drives, 17 large form factor drives, or even 20 NVMe drives. Right, so expansion is key within this system, including up to the 8 PCIe 3.0 slots. And those could be full height and full length. So with that all being said, let's explore this solution. Okay, here's the front of our DL380 Gen 10 server. This is a small form factor server, and in Bay 3 I have the ability to hold 8 small form factor drives. It's also interesting to note that there's a couple fillers that are missing here. All right, so these are the fillers. So if you're booting from SD card or USB, you're going to maybe want to order a couple fillers to fill up that blank space. Now I could add in Bay 2 as well as Bay 3 another 8 drives like this, so it gives me a total of 24 drives going across the front of the system. If you want to, there's other options to put drives in the back, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Right, but we're getting a lot of storage space in the front of the system. If you notice that I don't have any optical drives in this system, I've become pretty well accustomed to doing my installations through ILO Advanced and the virtual media that comes with that. Right, so I highly recommend that. But if you need an optical drive, there is a universal bay media kit that you can put in over here, and it will give you the ability to have an optical drive or install an optical drive. This universal bay will also give you some USB ports and a display port, and if you wanted to, the ability to put a couple extra drives down here, and they would go in this direction. Like I mentioned, this is a small form factor based system. There are large form factor based systems, and basically they have 4 drives going across, so 3 rows of 4 drives. And again, that would fill up the entire front. They do have an option to put an optical drive, so you'd only have 2 rows of 4 large form factor drives, and then over here you'd have the ability to have an optical drive, and again those USB port and display port, and then over here you'd have the ability to put some extra small form factor drives if you chose to do that. Right. Here is my serial number as well as product number. Power button, the UID light, that'll light up if you've accessed ILO in the environment, or if you press it, it'll turn blue and you can go in the back and kind of identify the server from the back of the rack. There's a USB port on the bottom, and right here is something that's a little bit new. That's the ILO front accessible service port. So that has the ability, if you plug in a USB stick to that, to be able to dump logs from ILO onto it. If you have the right USB to Ethernet adapter, you can actually access ILO from that port as well. I would say that port does not pass through into the operating system or the hypervisor that's installed in the system. This is only a port that's accessible to ILO itself. Right, so that's the front of the system. Let's take a look at the back. Okay, here's the back of our server. Again, this is a DL380 Gen 10 server. This server was a Smart Buy server, and this Smart Buy came configured with 2 risers, so the primary as well as the secondary, and these risers can hold 3 PCI Express cards, so 3 here as well as 3 over here. There's also an option for a tertiary riser, so I actually have the ability to put a PCI Express slot over here as well if I needed. So as a matter of fact, they have a lot of flexibility as for the options as to what you can install in the back of the system, especially around the area of storage. For example, I could place a riser over here that'll give me 1 PCI Express slot, but also access to 2 more hot pluggable small form factor drives here. Right, and the same thing could happen over here. Again, another PCI Express slot and then 2 small form factor drives. And they even have an option to put 2 small form factor drives over here if you wanted to. So that would be 6 small form factor drives going across the back of the system. Right. They also have options for large form factor drives. So you could put one large form factor drive over here, and then you could put 2 large form factor drives over here. But it would consume all the slots for the large form factor drives. Right. And you could still have access to 3 over here. Or if you wanted to, you could still put in that riser that gives you access to 2 small form factor drives, and you'd still have access to that 1 PCI Express slot. So a lot of configuration options. Keep in mind that we still have this FlexLOM slot below to be able to put maybe some 10 gig cards or 1 gig cards if we needed to inside the environment. All right, so some other things. Obviously, we have hot plug power supplies. These are 800 watt power supplies that I have installed in this system here. Going across the back some more, we've got a couple USB ports. I think it's interesting to note that all the ports on this system are USB 3 ports, unless you add the universal media bay that has USB 2 ports. All right, so USB ports. Here's my ILO port as well as my 4 1 gig ports down here. And then finally I have a VGA port listed here. All right, so that's the back of the system. Let's take a look at the inside. All right, let's look at the inside of our DL380 Gen10 server. One of the things I always like to point out is there's some great information on the inside cover of HP ProLiant servers, so if you're servicing these on a day in and day out basis, you'll find you'll utilize this to find some common information that you may need. Items such as the power supplies back here with the purple tab, as well as these fans here, are hot pluggable. So again, anything with purple on it means I could remove this fan while the server was up and running. Anything that's blue, I can remove while the server is off without any tools. So that's the entire fan tray. Alright, let's also remove the air bezel. Maintaining proper airflow is important to a server. Now we can see the 2 processors, right, and all the RAM slots. Right, I have 4 16 gig chips installed in this system. These are DDR4 sticks of RAM. So I'll pop out one of these guys and let you take a look. That guy back in. Back here is the smart battery, which connects to the motherboard and provides cache protection to all the RAID controllers inside this environment. Here is the primary riser, so I'll remove that. This primary riser has 2 8x slots and 1 16x slot. This one in particular has an M.2 connection here, so you plug it in over here and screw it down back here, as well as an M.2 connection back here. Right. There are a variety of riser options that are out there. Keep in mind that there are riser options that will give you 2 hard drive bays up here, but still give you access to 1 PCI Express slot down below. My secondary riser is similar to the primary. Right, so again, it has 2 8x slots and a 16x slot, but it doesn't have the M.2. Alright, this is blank. And these are the battery connections if I install the RAID controller. Alright, and those would route back out to this battery here. Now, I think it's important to note that this is the connector for the primary riser, this is a connector for the secondary riser, and this is a connector for the tertiary riser, or for over here. All right, and the way that gets installed is it gets sandwiched onto this riser, and then they all go in as one piece, and obviously there would be a piece of metal that you'd have to exchange in the back. So on board there's an S100i RAID controller. It can do RAID 0, 1, and 10. These are the ports for that. It supports 14 drives, but 2 of them are connected to the M.2 ports on this riser. All right, they're utilized for these. All right. It's a software RAID controller, so pretty rudimentary. You know, check your operating system support to see what is supported. In my proprietary slot, I have a RAID controller, and this is a P408i-A. I'm not going to remove this guy here. So this allows me to have a RAID controller in the system without consuming those precious PCI Express slots. And there's the connector here as well as here. And this has got full support. This would be a full hardware-based RAID controller. All right, and this cable's out over here to this channel to these connectors here. Some other things, here's the flex LOM connector over here. Again, I could put another network card, something like a 10 gig card in there if I felt like it. Over here are my 2 internal USB ports, so USB 3.0, and here is my SD card slot. So let's put this guy back together. Alright, so that's our tour of a DL380 Gen 10 server. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please stay tuned for more videos.